And a big good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Motorsport.ie RTA Virtual Motorsport British Touring Car Championship. It's round number 7 of what has been an absolutely unbelievable season. We have an extremely close championship fight with 2 weeks to go, and it's bound to be entertaining. Ronan and Dan Mould fighting at the top. Dylan McClements, Robbie Calhoun and Brandon McCaughan not too far off, with Oscar Mangan involved as well. It is going to be a good one, and our trip across the United Kingdom takes us to the home of Formula 1. Not the home of British Touring Car Championship, but certainly the birthplace of modern motorsport. It is Silverstone, of course, situated on the old site of a Royal Air Force bomber station, just like most circuits in the UK of RAF Silverstone. Tonight we trip round the national circuit, 2.639 kilometres, 1.640 miles and 6 corners, with the lap record here currently held by Scott Mansell in a Benetton B197 that was set in 2004. It's one of the shortest variations of the circuit. I believe it's our 3rd time in recent RTA history racing here, and it is bound to be a good one. There was an estimated 150,000 spectators here at the first Formula 1 race in 1950. Not quite as many tuning in on Gantry TV tonight, folks, but it is a pleasure to have the number we do have, and please make sure to get your comments and thoughts in on tonight's action. It's nice and sunny, no rain plaguing the conditions here in Silverstone, which does cross between 2 counties in the UK, North Hampshire and Buckinghamshire, but it is a lovely and sometimes rare sunny day. Track conditions perfect for racing, and it should be a perfect evening. My name's Evan Dalton, usually Kevin Galvin alongside me, but a bit like Cork's All-Ireland winning form at the weekend, he's gone missing. So unfortunately we won't have Kevin here tonight. He has been delayed at something that Cork people do, probably work, but who knows. So it's just myself and the fabulous Ronan Hederman who will be pitching in from time to time alongside me, and of course he is behind the scenes as always. So RTA Virtual Motorsport, what did you miss last week if you weren't minutes? You missed 3 great races at Knockhill with 3 different winners once again. Dan Mould winning Heat 1, Ronan Doherty winning Heat 2, Brandon McCaughan winning Heat 3. Heat number 1, Mould and Doherty. Well, Ronan Doherty took a pretty comfortable race lead, and then unfortunately made a few mistakes, and Dan Mould managed to sneak through. He avenged himself in Heat number 2 and managed to get past Dan Mould, taking the race win late on. And then Heat number 3 was a totally different ball game altogether. Defensive masterclass from Brandon McCaughan on Jordan Kelly and Dan Mould allowed him to take the win. That hasn't changed the championship placings too much, though. It's still Ronan Doherty who is top of the pile, with Oscar Mangan in 2nd position. But Ronan, of course, with a 30-point penalty, that makes that gap currently standing at 12. Dylan McClements then in 3rd, Robbie Calhoun in 4th, Brandon McCaughan in 5th position with Wayne Douglas in 6th. Dan Mould then is in 7th with Jordan Kelly in 8th. Evan Walsh then in 9th with Conor Melia sneaking into the top 10 last time out in Knockhill. And a great job indeed to get ahead of Sean McGoldrick. A little bit further down the order then, it is Sean McGoldrick, Sean McClements, Peter McCann, Rory O'Shea and Keith Stewart rounding out the top 15. It's a right hole squabble for 10th, and we imagine that's going to continue tonight. In the B Championship then, Finlay Melvin leads by 2 points over Dave Collier. Dave Collier in 2nd, Simon Hutchings in 3rd with David Prunty in 4th. Emma Dempsey then in 5th, Phil Upson in 6th, Jacob Hobbs in 7th, Andrew Murphy in 8th, Simon Wall in 9th, and then Nathan Sweeney in 10th position with Jamal Gandor and Danny Dempsey behind those two. Jamal, of course, picking up a few penalties after on-track antics involving Emma Dempsey. And by on-track antics, I mean he has taken her out, or she's taken him out, for 7 weeks running. Is that going to continue tonight? Is the sky blue? So, let's get into qualifying then, which is coming up exactly now, right on cue. Oscar Mangan quickest in practice, but very interestingly, Dara Halley in 2nd, with a 1:03 each. It's very close. Top 5 separated by less than a tenth of a second. Top 6, I should say, separated by less than a tenth of a second between Oscar Mangan and Dan Mould. It's your usual names up there, with Evan Walsh thrown into the mix as well. So qualifying in Silverstone, we have 15 minutes. It's about 1 minute, of course, a lap, as we just said. Meaning, realistically, they're going to get over 10 laps if they get smooth running. But smooth running not a given when you have 24 touring cars out on track at the same time here in Silverstone. Hello to everybody watching. Hello to Peter McCann, Sean McGoldrick, Geraldine McClements, Kevin Joyce all watching. Rob Parks as well, with a rare appearance at his own series. He's saying, in terms of lap records, that Peter McCann actually holds a lap record around here, but it's the infield paddock bar. That doesn't surprise me in the slightest. In terms of... this is a terrible link in, but in terms of alcohol at Silverstone, there's quite a lot of champagne spread, and there's an estimated 8,000 bottles of champagne get sprayed at a Formula 1 weekend in Silverstone every year. How many of them are sprayed by Peter McCann? Well, I suppose only the Rob and Ronans of this world will be able to answer that. But first laps getting underway here in qualifying. And we see Wayne Douglas rounding us through in towards the first corner. Then we'll have a full lap on board in a few moments' time. But let's see what the banker times are like first before we dive into the inner workings of a hot lap around Silverstone. Qualifying has not been as important this season as maybe previous seasons, but pole position has won every heat won apart from last week, where Ronan Doherty, of course, made that mistake off pole position. And speaking of Ronan Doherty, a very interesting livery on his car. Can we get a close-up of that one, maybe, Ronan, if that is possible, especially the side of the car, which I believe is the most interesting one. Here we go, folks. No, it's got away at the wrong time. It is a scene from Pulp Fiction, but with Ronan Doherty and Sean McClements superimposed over Vincent Vega and whoever Samuel L. Jackson plays. I can't remember the character's name. You can see there. We're going to park that there, and you can all make your own judgments at home. But it took Ronan about 2 hours to make that last Tuesday night, and he was very proud of it, so I hear. But he's currently quickest in qualifying. Evan Walsh then in second, with Brandon McCaughan in third. Conor Melia goes fourth, and Peter McCann a little bit off the pace in fifth. Dave Collier jumping up the order a little bit in sixth position, and then Emma Dempsey rounding us out so far in seventh. Off tracks might be a little bit of an issue here tonight. There's a couple that have already been thrown in. Peter McCann picking up one. Was disappointed that he wasn't able to set an illegal practice time due to the quote-unquote furniture here at the circuit. That, of course, being the grass. Wasn't able to cut all the corners. And unfortunately couldn't set what is now his infamous illegal lap. Here's Dylan McClements, who goes in sixth position, and of course, as we alluded to earlier, he is the one providing us with a fabulous hot lap of this Silverstone National Circuit. So let's ride on board with Dylan McClements' Hyundai and take you through this fabulous track. So down towards the first corner, Copse Corner on the old Formula 1 start-finish straight. Keep as close to the inside curve as possible, and then immediately spring as close to the outside curve. You're immediately setting up for Mackett's, Beckett's and Chapel, which in a Formula 1 car you're trying to take as flat out as possible. Here in a TCR, you're looking to brake all the way through Mackett's and then not even get to Beckett's and Chapel, unfortunately. It's a right-hand hairpin on towards the Wellington Straight and down towards Brooklands. Skip the arena section, which is, of course, the traditional circuits turn 4 and 5 complex. You're looking to set up for Brooklands in towards the left-hander, which is a big overtaking zone around this national circuit. You get a nice line through Brooklands, take as close or as much as that inside curve as possible, I should say, and then prepare for the Luffield hairpin and final corner of turn number 7. You want to get a slingshot out of here, down towards Woodcut and the all-start finish straight. Keep as close to this curve on the inside and even cut most of it. Keep as close to that wall. Get a great run down the start-finish straight. And it's as simple as that, folks. It's the second shortest lap of the calendar, I believe, only Brands Hatch Indy beating it. It looks easy. It isn't easy, given how close this grid is going to be. This is probably going to be our closest qualifying of the season, bar none. And you can see already the times. We have 5 drivers in the 104s. Ronan Doherty tops them, make that 6 drivers in the 104s. Welcome Oscar Mangan to the top 2 and the front row of the grid. And that is a fabulous lap indeed. Oscar Mangan not leading the championship, second, but he does have the most wins so far this season. 6 wins for Oscar Mangan, and then 3 for Ronan Doherty and 3 for Dan Mould. Brandon McCaughton has 2, and Jordan Kelly hasn't done half bad either in the season where he's not been able to race much. He also has 3 wins, so 3 is the magic number this season so far in terms of race wins for everyone except for Oscar Mangan. And Oscar needs to just get that a little bit more consistent, and he'll have a real championship charge. One driver who surprised us this season so far is Robbie Callahan, who is in third now currently in qualifying. Hasn't quite picked up that fabulous race win. Has not won since the Formula V Championship a few seasons ago. Has not won since then, and would like to get a win on the board to maybe launch a late charge in the final 2 races. Oscar Mangan goes quickest, first man in the 102s tonight. Not sure the practice times last night, but certainly no one managed to get into the 102s in practice pre-race. Usually acts as more of a warm-up for the quick drivers. Some of the back markers put in some real practice time with the likes of Mangan, Doherty. They log on pretty late. They then tell us that they haven't got any practice, and then they set blistering lap times. That's usually how these races run. But Robbie Callahan getting a nice slipstream from Dara Halley and Evan Walsh in front, as Evan Walsh in the Montello Park car flies through the final corner. Let's see what Robbie can do then. Dara Halley purple in the first sector. That's a 102.6 for Halley across the line, or 102.2 for Halley across the line, I should say. But it doesn't seem to be legal. Robbie Callahan's got a legal time on the board. He jumps up to second, but is immediately beaten by Wayne Douglas. Douglas manages to go at the top. Oscar Mangan in the Honda is quickest so far, and the Honda of course struggled last week in Knockhill. The Hyundai Velociter was actually the quickest car for, dare I say, the first race so far this season that it has been quickest. It was very nice over the curbs in Knockhill, and those who were driving it were absolutely delighted with how that car performs. Speaking of Hyundai Velociters, Sean McClements getting a slipstream of his brother heading through turn number 1. As we have a couple of Kevin Joyce fun facts going into our stream chat. A fun fact, or actually probably not a fun fact for Kevin, is he unfortunately isn't racing this week, has to serve a race suspension. But I don't think he's going to be too disappointed about it, as Kevin is recently back from Imola and got to witness an Alex Dunn F2 win in person and a Max Verstappen masterclass at turn number 1. But some people who watch this aren't too fond of Max Verstappen, so I'm not going to say that name too loudly. Kevin, my usual co-commentator, hates Red Bull liveries. Not Max Verstappen, just Red Bull liveries, so he mightn't have enjoyed that one too much. What is Kevin saying us then? This is our pit lane reporter for this week. Kevin says the Audi is good in the high speed, absolutely good in the high speed, and that's going to bode nicely tonight, given most of this track is a straight. Only Jordan Kelly can squeeze a lap time out of it, says Kevin. Oh, okay. Poor Dara Halley been beaten with a stick there, it seems, and Tony Stack. But to be fair, not exactly incorrect as of now. Well, I mean, it is incorrect for now, because Jordan Kelly hasn't got any lap time out of it. I'm not actually sure Jordan will be setting a lap time, or if he's just set up the server, but we will wait and see what happened. Kevin also enlightening us, saying there's no Silverstones in Silverstone. I assume he's gone around and checked every corner and checked every gravel trap to make sure there is no Silverstones. I'm putting full faith in you there, Kevin, but we'll find that out at a later stage. Here is Evan Walsh in towards Maggots and the hairpin, getting a slipstream from Dan Mould in front. Or sorry, that could be Rory O'Shea in front. It's one of those liveries. Anyways, Dan Mould, in Donington, we all thought he was going to come and dominate this championship, but Ronan Doherty and Oscar Mangan have really put it to him in the last few weeks, and Brandon McCaughton really putting it to him in Knockhill as well. Dan, though, is having the time of his life racing in this championship, and even though there was a bit of contact last week between a few drivers, Dan's saying he's absolutely loving it. Kevin has enlightened us to say that no stone was unturned. Literally. That's the type of bad jokes we're used to here on Gantry TV, so Kevin would fit in very well. Here is Dan Mould across the start-finish line. Let's see, will there be an improvement in qualifying? It's mad to think that he's only about 2/10 off pole position and he's 7th. That's how close it is tonight. Pole currently a 1:0:02, but that's a little bit of an outlier. Let's say second is Wayne Douglas with a 1:0:03. And we go all the way down to 10th, Dylan McClemens, 1:0:05. So 0.2 of a second separating practically all of the top 10. Dylan McClemens in 10th position, but he has become quite fond of P5 the last few weeks. 4 fifth places in 6 races for Dylan McClemens, 5 in 9. So Dylan very much fancying that 5th place practically every race, and I suppose that was the consistency we all got used to in his LMP2 championship winning season. But with less than 5 minutes to go in qualifying, it is Oscar Mangan who is up the top, Wayne Douglas in second, then it is Robbie Callaghan, Ronan Doherty, Evan Walsh, Conor Melia, Dan Mould, Brandon McCaughan, Dara Halley and Dylan McClemens in 10th position. Simon Hutchings then in 11th, Rory O'Shea in 12th. Not a bad lap that actually by Simon Hutchings. And it's Peter McCann in 13th, Sean McClemens 14th, and he is a bit down the order, so would like to improve upon that. Your B Championship leader Finlay Melvin currently in 18th, and Finlay didn't run too bad last week in Knock Hill. It's been a very interesting season for Finlay, and he is of course leading the B Championship. But his evenings have kind of followed a very structured format. He'll set a really nice lap in practice. Qualifying Heat 1 and maybe sometimes Heat 2 might go a begging, and they might be a little bit of a disaster sometimes. And then Heat 3, he usually picks it up. It's very structured. Finlay Melvin has got a lot of top 10s in Heat 3. And it sort of reminds me of his undeniable love for sandwiches. It's all very, very structured for Finlay. And he's going to try and keep up that and maybe even win the B Championship. Right, let's get back to some of our front runners then in the A Series. Is it called the A Series? I don't think we really have an official name for it, but certainly the main championship. Overall, Ronan Hederman tells me to call it the overall championship. Conor Melia setting a good lap in qualifying, and of course we have to talk about some of Conor's real world racing achievements up in Bishop's Court for the Formula V's. 2 second places in the National Championship. They have a name for the overall championship. 2 second places, and he was delighted with how the races ran, so he's going to look to continue that form on the sim and put in a strong performance this evening. Riding on board with Dara Halley now, down the start-finish straight. Apologies if there's a little bit of lag there, folks, on my end. Dara Halley down towards the first corner, on board with the Audi, which Kevin Joyce believes is the favourite car for tonight. He's picking up a nice slipstream from Dara Halley. Oh no, is Dara Halley picking up a slipstream from Dara Halley, folks? I wonder. It's Robbie Callaghan, I believe, he's picking up a slipstream from in front. It is Robbie Callaghan. He's not getting a slipstream from himself in a miraculous turn of scientific physics. In the Halfords machine, Wayne Douglas in second, getting a slipstream from Dan Mould in front. As Kevin is giving us not typical Kevin Joyce is giving us another fact here for the Audi, which is actually a very interesting talking point. That's why I'm jumping to it straight away. The Audi is the only TCR car that has launch control utilised properly. You can make up multiple positions off the line, and that is key, especially when turn 1 is cops. You can make an overtake there. We usually see overtakes there in RTA, more so in the smaller single-seaters like the Formula Ford 1600s, which feels like an age ago at this point. But you can still make a move in the TCRs. Lap 1 at Thruxton decided the win most times, if not all. Lap 1 in Brands Hatch has decided who's battling for the win. Not necessarily last week in Knock Hill. Knock Hill is a totally different ballgame. But we're looking at Ronan Doherty, championship leader here in qualifying, but 1 minute to go. This will be his last attempt of the day. And he is getting a little bit of a slipstream in front. Slipstream, of course, very powerful. And once again, it's by Robbie Callaghan. And Doherty will be looking to take another pole position this season. Took pole last time out in Knock Hill for the first time this season. If he can go 2 in a row, that would be crucial, but not tracking overly excellent on this run as he's heading in towards Luffield for the final time. Runs a little bit wide there, and that's going to compromise his run. Dara Halley's just jumped to second, by the way, in the Halfords machine. That is a brilliant lap from Dara, and very much like what we saw in practice from him. But Doherty, coming up towards the start-finish line, did go personal best in Sector 1. Is it going to be an improvement? He's not even going to make the line, as a matter of fact, as Oscar Mangan has just increased the margin once again. First man in the 101s. 100-1s, I should say. That is incredible from Oscar Mangan, and at such a tight field, he has managed to go top. Dan Mould has pulled off as well, and we have cars parked left, right and centre. It's like the M50 at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, but it will be Oscar Mangan who is on pole position. Dara Halley in second, Wayne Douglas in third. Oscar Mangan a class above the rest here. Let's run you through the full grid. So front row, Mangan and Halley. Dara Halley with his best ever qualifying performance in RTA. Wayne Douglas then in third, and it is Robbie Callaghan, Ronan Doherty, Evan Walsh, Conor Mealy, Dan Mould, Brandon McCaughan. Then it is Dylan McClements, Simon Hutchings, Sean McClements, Rory O'Shea, Peter McCann, Finlay Melvin, Dermot Toomey, Tony Stack, Dave Collier, David Prunty and Nathan Sweeney. It is Emma Dempsey, Phil Upson, Jamal Gandor, and unfortunately no Jordan Kelly this evening in a great showing in qualifying for Oscar Mangan. Ronan Hederman, going to bring you in for the first time tonight. What's your predictions for this then?
I'm not entirely sure, because normally I do get a chance to get in and see a bit of the practice, but I haven't actually had a chance to see anything this week, so I would say it's going to be possibly business as usual up the front, all being it stays tidy, which again, being the BTCC, I got it right this time, it could be chaos, you never know.
It could be chaos. To be honest, I haven't a Scooby what to expect either. Because Knock Hill, we kind of expected it was going to be close, it was going to be cagey. Brands Hatch Indy, we were like, okay, well, this is going to be an absolute mess. It was, so we were right with that assumption. Donington were like, right, this will probably be good racing. It could be any of the three here at Silverstone, and I suppose that is the beauty of this circuit. A circuit with a lot of history in motorsport, because we've already mentioned the first Formula 1 race. First ever displaying of the turbo engine was here as well, and now it's RTA's British Touring Car Championship's turn to go racing in Silverstone, and a brilliant start from Dara Halley on his first appearance on the front row. He's looking to overtake Oscar Mangan through Cops Corner, and dare I say, he has overtaken Oscar Mangan. No, loses out on the exit, and that allows Wayne Douglas to get into the slingshot and have a go at Oscar Mangan down towards turn number 2. Halley commits to the inside, looking to defend it, has defended it. Oscar Mangan is away at the front. Robbie Callaghan looking to try and make up positions as well. He currently sits in fourth. A little bit of blinking for Wayne Douglas, nothing too drastic, and hopefully doesn't cause an incident. Great start for Tony Stack down the back. He's up 3 positions. Sean McClements has not had a good start at all, down 6th. He currently sits 18th position here on lap number 1, but Halley overtaken by Wayne Douglas. His great race start has gone a-begging, and now Oscar Mangan is going to try and pull away at the front with not much of a challenge behind, heading into Copse to start the second lap. Overall, quite a few movers and shakers with a handful of positions. Good start for Simon Hutchings and Rory O'Shea, both gaining ground. Great start for Jamal Gandor now. He's up to 18th, and Sean McClements has picked up damage because he's into the pit lane here, and that's going to be heat 1 pretty much done for Sean. Not a great start to tonight at all here around Silverstone National, pitting for an oil change potentially, as Wayne Douglas still blinking here. That's getting very scary between himself and Dara Halley. Dan Mould tucked into the slipstream of Evan Walsh and has that hideous view on his rear spoiler. He's now going to look for the move in towards Brooklands. Still McClements a little bit further back, looking to get involved in that battle with Rory O'Shea. Here comes Robbie Callaghan, trying the move on Dara Halley. He's got that done fairly simply, has Robbie Callaghan. Great move indeed down the inside. It seems like Halley is struggling a bit with this early race pace. Always very good in qualifying is Dara Halley, but sometimes can struggle to manage his tyres and lose out over the longer formats, but struggling very early on here. Rory O'Shea has been overtaken. by a fellow RTA champ in the form of Dylan McClemens. And here comes Ronan Doherty looking down the inside of Dara Halley. And Dara Halley, oh, big slide, does very well to hold it. Gonna run very wide on the exit of turn number 1, but has done an excellent job to hold that one. And just stay in the race, that's the most important thing. Pick up some points when you can, but he's under pressure from the Honda Civic of Evan Walsh, and he's very wide over the gravel again. He's going to lose 2, 3, maybe even 4 places as they get down the end of the straight. A shocking lap 3 so far for Dara Halley. He's filed into 8th position, it seems, here, but Conor Melia is going to get brave on the brakes maybe and look round the outside. Still side by side through here. Melia doesn't get shoved out all the way. Halley leaves racing room, but Conor not committing to the inside. He's going to commit to the inside now, though, in the number 56, and Halley is ran very wide once again, so Conor Melia will have this crucial inside line or no. Dara Halley using the gravel to his advantage almost there, seems to get a flyer off that corner, even still running wide. As Conor Melia going to have to wait another few laps maybe to try and move, as Halley's gone off again. He's going to be picking up off tracks left, right, centre, or no, actually, he only has 1, surprisingly. But it looked like a lot more. Here comes Evan Walsh and Dan Mould. Mould looking to go around the outside. Dan up 2 positions from a starting spot, and oh, contact made. He's picked up the rear of Evan Walsh's car and spun him round through there. And that is Dan Mould once again, just accelerating a little bit hot off the corner. It's a move that we saw last week, and it resulted in the spin of Jordan Kelly. It's resulted in the spin of Evan Walsh this time round. We might have to have another look at that one when we get a chance on the replay. But Evan Walsh, a very strong race start, was sitting in 5th, was up a position from his starting spot. He has been dumped down the order a little bit. Let's have a look at a Gantry TV replay then. In towards Beckett's. So Dan Walsh on the Dan Mould on the outside, Evan Walsh on the inside. As you can see here, Walsh has that inside line, and sweeps off the corner a little bit. That is quite close. It almost looked like 2 into 1 doesn't go, but there's enough room for both of them there on the outside. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one for the stewards if it's reported. And they, that's going to be an interesting one as well for Dan Mould. And the same move almost happened again, but the other way round. Dan Mould is on the inside line this time and accelerated fast off the corner. He's now looking for the move on Brandon McCaughan. 2 very similar coloured cars, but it is Brandon McCaughan on the inside, Dan Mould on the outside, and Brandon McCaughan breaks later than Dan. Dan probably getting flashbacks to last week in Knock Hill when he tried to get past Brandon for about 18 minutes and couldn't do so. He's going to try and have to dispatch him in 5 here in Silverstone if he wants to take 5th place in this, as Dara Halley has gone off-roading once again. Seems to be turning this into a little bit of a rallycross race. Of course, it is a rallycross circuit here at Silverstone, but Dara Halley clearly fancies that one. Wayne Douglas has got past Robbie Callahan and is in 2nd position. I'm not sure if that's actually an overtake on track or just a timing issue once again with that bit of lag that we saw from Wayne Douglas. Seems to just be that, as Dan Mould going to try down the inside on Brandon McCaughan here. That's late on the brakes. That's very sketchy, but Dan Mould has pulled it off. Full commitment there to get the move stick, used all of the curb on the inside. That's an absolute cracker, and now Brandon McCaughan has been shoved onto the grass. He's trying to weave his way round Dan, heading down the Wellington straight and in towards the next corner. Tries to dummy down the inside. Beautiful move on the brakes from Brandon McCaughan. And Dan Mould has had the wool pulled over his eyes in the exact same fashion that he did it to Brandon. Full commitment on the brakes from McCaughan, who has raced around here in Silverstone, of course, in real life plenty of times. That is a lovely, lovely move on the inside. One he should be proud of, but battle is going to rage on here. Dan Mould looking for the outside through Copp's corner. Brandon has the crucial inside. Brandon's got to hit his apex here, he does, so he can drift out and just block Dan. Dan trying the switchback, trying the up and under. Brandon, late defensive move, goes for the inside line. That's what worked for him in Knock Hill, but it's going to be a little bit more tricky here at the Silverstone National Circuit. As side by side in front, Doherty gets past Callahan. Still McCaughan and Mould side by side in the exit. About a 10th of a second separates them, and Brandon McCaughan is still in front of Dan. Dan going to presumably have to try the outside line. Here's Brandon, surely is going to defend the move that he just made and gives Dan Mould a big squeeze. All is fair in love and war here, but it's getting very close to contact, and Dan is going to drift wide here, runs very wide of the apex and just oversteers off. Sorry, just understeers off the apex. And that forces Dara Halley and Conor Melia to go side by side once again somehow. Just backs Halley up into Conor Melia. And now that's going to be a battle for 7. Dylan McClements looking to get involved as well. Dylan struggling with the car here tonight, we're being told. So he's going to have to try and make the most of it. What a great battle between Dan Mould and Brandon McCaughan. That's one we'll look back on fondly later this evening. And it's not over just yet. Dan Mould really wants to get past Brandon. And he's going to dive down the inside once again. Exact same move he pulled off 2 laps ago. But Brandon McCaughan has sold Mr. Mould a dream. What a move from McCaughan once again to just stay in front. It's getting so close to out there on the circuit. But still inch perfect from these two. It's been an absolute cracker so far. And Dara Halley is looking to get involved. Gives Brandon McCaughan a bit of breathing room. Look how late Dara Halley has broke. And he's got it done round the outside, has he? No, doesn't seem to have. Dan Mould still there, but Tara once again lacks the delayed breakers. He has unbelievable brake discs, it seems, on his Audi, because he's able to brake so much later. Dylan McClements is looking to sneak past as well, and this is becoming a whole world of pain for Dan Mould. He was fighting for 5th, he's now down to 8th. Under pressure from Dylan McClements and Conor Melia. It might even get worse. Mould is going to try and flick it round the outside of Cop's corner. It's not a move that works every single time, but sometimes it can be successful. It's been successful on this occasion as we get a beautiful shot of them flying over the curb. Dylan McClements has the inside. He's going to push Dan Mould wide. Gets a great exit, does Dylan McClements, but Dan just has that sweeping outside line that seems to almost be favoured by these TCR drivers so far tonight. Dylan McClements looking to tuck up into the slipstream of Dan Mould in front. He's going to go for the outside line here, maybe trying the switchback manoeuvre, as Dan has been drifting off this apex time and time again, but no, it's very steady this time round for Dan Mould. And he is going to keep the position for the time being, but he's got another 2 positions to try get past in one singular lap if he wants to win here, or if he wants to get back to 5th place, I should say, here in Silverstone, let alone win. The win is firmly in Oscar Mangan's hands. 2nd place undecided between Wayne Douglas and championship leader Ronan Doherty, as Doherty is just hunting down Wayne Douglas in front. Got past Robbie Callaghan and has pulled a gap of 0.6 of a second, but it still seems a little bit too far between himself and Wayne Douglas. Back to this battle then, and we're looking a little bit further back than we have been. We're looking at Rory O'Shea, who might be trying a move on Conor Melia, but again just seems a tad bit far back, as Oscar Mangan still in the lead of this one. Doesn't seem like any of the positions in the podium places are going to swap unless there is a mistake. Seems like Dara Halley is trying a move on Brandon McCaughan here, but again, just that bit far back. All the battles have quietened down on the last lap. Oscar Mangan rounds through the final corner, and he's going to win the opening heat and his 7th race win of the season here at the RTA BTCC. Wayne Douglas is going to come home in 2nd. Ronan Doherty just home in 3rd, and Robbie Callaghan is going to take 4th. Brandon McCaughan then once again proves that he is a fabulous defender. Dara Halley comes home in 6th, Dan Mould 7th, Dylan McClements in 8th, Conor Melia in 9th, and Rory O'Shea in 10th, as the back markers are just filing home. I tell you what, that was action-packed. We didn't really know what to expect, but that was fantastic. Just one straggler then, in the form of Sean McClements, who picked up damage on the opening lap, it seems, and had to come into the pit lane. He now starts 23rd in Heat 2. He's going to have to try and come back and maybe get on the reverse grid. So let's have full confirmation of your results then. Here at Silverstone National in Heat number 1. Oscar Mangan takes the victory. The Wayne Douglas in 2nd. It was then Doherty, Callaghan, McCaughan, Halley, Mould, McClements, Melia, O'Shea, McCann, Hutchings, Melvin, Toomey, Walsh, Stack, Sweeney, Gandor, Collier, and David Prunty. And then behind David, we had Emma Dempsey, Phil Upson, Sean McClements, and of course Jordan Kelly will appear on your timing screen, but not racing this evening. Ronan Hederman, big incident in that one, I suppose, was Evan Walsh and Dan Mould.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, I don't know, from my point of view, I feel like it might have been a racing incident, but I don't know, like it's BTCC. I think it's probably going to fall in the way of a racing incident, so I'm hoping that's the way it goes, but overall very clean, and let's keep it that way.
Yeah, great battle between McCaughan and Mould. as we get ready to go for heat number 2 as we go racing here in Silverstone. As Oscar Mangan bogged down off the line a little bit? No, seems to have got away okay, but it certainly looked like Wayne Douglas got a better launch, and he's got to try the inside line once again here, and he has got the inside line, and he's almost looking for the race lead. Ronan Doherty tucked into the slipstream of Oscar Mangan as well, as it seems like we're having a little bit of a kerfuffle here with thanks to iRacing, as now we look at them flying down towards Maggots, and yes, it is Wayne Douglas in the race lead, but Ronan Doherty, oh, it's 2-1 for the 3rd time this season. He loves that move, he loves to get past 2 on the inside, and he's pulled it off once again. Brilliant move as someone's bumper's gone bouncing around Beckett's there at the back part of the circuit. We'll find out who that was as Ronan Doherty leads here. Wayne Douglas in 2nd. Brandon McCollum is in 3rd. And it was a shocking start for Oscar Mangan. He's down to 4th, down 3 places off pole position, after literally cruising to victory in the opening heat of the evening. Dan Mould might look to get involved as well here. Dan definitely hungry for some overtakes after losing so many positions in the first heat of the night. Wayne Douglas going for the move in towards the first corner, but Ronan Doherty defends adequately, and he will lead us through. Oscar Mangan in 3rd, still under pressure from McCollum, Mould, and even Dara Halley may be looking to get involved. Dan Mould side by side with Brandon McCollum. McCollum a little bit boxed in here by Oscar Mangan, but Mould breaks late in his contact. Mould breaks late in his contact. He's wiped Mangan and Wayne Douglas, 2 of the championship contenders here. They go sliding off, and Dan Mould broke very, very late in towards Maggots. Hits the rear of Oscar Mangan, who then hit the rear of Wayne Douglas. Wow, that is a big moment at the start of heat number 2. We, without question, will have to have a look at a replay in a few moments' time when we get a breather, but we're still side by side for the top 5. Melia runs wide. That allows Dylan McClemens through. Dylan McClemens and Conor Melia both up 5 positions so far in this race. Ronan Doherty leads by almost a second, ahead of Brandon McCollum in 2nd. Here is Conor Melia defending from Dara Halley. This is for 5th position, and Halley's going to have the outside line through Copse. Rory O'Shea's got another great start as well, and there goes Dara Halley. I'm not sure if he's turned in a bit too early and clipped Conor Melia there, but he's gone sliding. He's not done a bad job at recovering it, but it is the 2nd time he's gone adventuring at the first corner. Seems like we're going to have a full race of replays come the end of this one. This is a little bit more chaotic than heat number 1. Right, Gantry TV replay. This, I assume, is the Dan Mould incident. Yes, it is. Let's have a look then. Through Maggots, down towards Beckett's. So there you can see Dan Mould. Oh, he's broke very late.
Yep.
And he's just cleaned him out there, in my opinion. I'm not sure if the stewards would see anything other than that. But he's broke very late. He's hit Mangan. And then that sort of has a domino effect, which wipes out Wayne Douglas. 2 of the big 4 here in RTA, not talking about the fintech firms, 2 of the big 4 championship contenders in the form of Wayne Douglas and Oscar Mangan. As we've said, that now gives Ronan Doherty a fabulous race lead, one that he'll be hoping to capitalise on. Was 0.2 of a second quicker than anyone else so far. Is that Sean McClemens being lapped? It is. Oh no. So it's gone wrong again for McClemens. He's pulled off and is lapped 3 minutes into heat number 2. I know he wasn't looking forward necessarily to his pace around here or to how the car was handling, but this is a total disaster of huge proportion for Sean McClemens, and any good championship position is potentially gone, as of course he's already missed a few rounds this season, so his drop round is well decided almost. That is not good stuff for one of the 2 McClemenses. In terms of the other McClemens, Dylan is driving the wheels off what he feels is an underperforming car in 4th, and is in the slipstream of Mould and McCollum in front. Looks like we're going to get a Dan Mould, Brandon McCollum fight once again for the 3rd time in 3 races. That was almost a commentator's curse, as Brandon McCollum and Dan Mould do make contact. McCollum runs off, but he's recovered okay. He's only about fallen behind Dylan McClemens, and he's still in contention there. Dan Mould defends to the inside line on Dylan. Dylan looks for the switchback, but Mould is parked on the apex. Dylan's still got a much better exit than Dan Mould, and Brandon McCollum is now side by side with Conor Melia exiting the corner. Ronan Doherty, you can see, is clear away at the front, but it's almost like Noah's Ark down towards Brooklands behind, as 2 by 2 they go. First and foremost, it's Mould and McClemens McClemens. Oh, McClemens, bit of collision avoidance there, it seems. Then it's McCaughan and Melia, and McCaughan is ahead. Then it's O'Shea and McCann. O'Shea ahead in that one, but they're even more side by side. No, they've gone line astern now, so McCann backing out of that one. Simon Hutchings, I tell you what, he's had a great race so far. He's up 4 positions and sits 8th. Robbie Callaghan is down 5 to 9th. Walsh and Stack both up 5 to 10th and 11th, and then behind it is Wayne Douglas and Oscar Mangan in 12th and 13th. So there's still an opportunity to get on the reverse grid for Wayne Douglas and Oscar Mangan. And if they could get maybe a 6th, a 7th or an 8th in this, that'll give them a huge chance come Heat 3. Because, of course, they will get on the reverse grid, which, if you're unfamiliar to the RTA format, is the top 8. So if you finish 8th in this heat, you'll start on pole for heat number 3. Of course, if one of the quicker drivers does that rather than one of the traditional 8th place runners, they will be able to pull away at the front. I forgot we had this nice fancy graphic to show you. There you can see we're currently in the 15-minute race, and then race 3 will be 20 minutes. Drive through at 15, XDQ at 20, although off tracks significantly less than Knockhill, especially for Finlay Melvin, who has decreased his 100-fold and currently sits at 0. So you can do the maths on that one for what he got last week. Conor Melia is in front of Rory O'Shea down towards Copse Corner. And as we look back through the spoiler of Conor Melia at Rory O'Shea, got very close for a second there, but Melia seems to have got the run for the first corner. Simon Hutchings, I tell you what, he's not just up there through coincidence, lapping on pace, and Simon Hutchings is significantly slower than Douglas and Mangan behind him, but that is to be expected. He's still keeping in the slipstream and lapping an okay lap time. But fastest lap of this race, it did belong to Ronan Doherty. It's not telling me who it belongs to now because we have so many drivers in the 1004s. I don't even think our timing screen knows. But on the last lap, quickest was actually Dan Mould in 2nd position. As Oscar Mangan seems to have got past... No, sorry, Wayne Douglas timing screen issue once again there. So Douglas is dropping up and down. That's not him having incidents and recovering immediately. That is him just having a bit of a timing screen issue. There's Wayne Douglas. We can see him out on track. He's just ahead of Robbie Callaghan, actually. Or is that Robbie Callaghan? No, that's Tony Stack in the Ivory Coast livery, sorry. Not Robbie Callaghan. Sorry, I think we had this argument in Fruxton with Kieran, where technically he is correct and technically Robbie's wrong, and technically they're both correct and wrong. So we're not going into that whole debate once again. Here comes Dave Collier, I should say, battling with Nathan Sweeney. Nathan having a good race as well, actually. Currently sits in 14th. Here is Evan Walsh and Simon Hutchings. And Simon, not just having a good race, is looking to improve upon what he's done so far. Into the slipstream of Evan Walsh as Evan flashes the headlights in towards the next corner. No idea why he's done that, because Robbie Gallen's 1.2 seconds in front. I probably didn't even notice that. Here comes Dara Halley and Jamal Gan... No, sorry, not Jamal. That is Nate Sweeney, who's sliding it through there, and he's done well to hold that. Now falls in behind Emma Dempsey. Oh God, Jamal is behind Emma out on circuit. This could go wrong very quickly. Sean McClemens is involved in this one, but he's looking to unlap himself, and that's going to be a bit of a humbling experience for Sean to unlap himself in the battle for 17th rather than unlap himself with the race leaders. But still Ronan Doherty in the race lead at the 8-minute and 30 mark. Dan Mould in 2nd. And Dylan McClemens in 3rd, Brandon McCaughan in 4th, and Conor Melia currently sits in 5th position. There's a little bit of contact almost made between the two as Kevin Joyce has decided to enlighten us, saying there's no mandatory pit stops in this race. The standard of pit reporting has gone down to Swanee fairly quickly, but he is still technically correct. There's no mandatory pit stops still here. Let us know your thoughts on the drama so far in heat number 2. Johnny Hollywood saying he's less convinced this one was an innocent incident rather than the heat 1 one. As Kevin saying he likes Tony Stack's Ivory Coast livery. I disagree. And down towards turn number 1. Oscar Mangan just about gets ahead of Tony Stack down towards turn number 1. Is Tony going to try and keep it on the outside? He is, to be fair. The Kerryman doesn't give up easily, and he's going to try and hang around the outside of Oscar Mangan here. Oscar very close to that inside curb and just breaks a little bit earlier. And yes, has it done. So Oscar Mangan gets the move on Tony Stack as Wayne Douglas has, or no, sorry, Wayne Douglas did in 11th, just didn't see him on the timing screen. I was going to say Wayne has made a lot quicker progress, but he hasn't realistically. He's just 1.3 up the road, so Oscar got held up a little bit by Tony Stack, it seems. Jamal Gandor and Nathan Sweeney side by side. Sweeney on the inside, Gandor on the outside. As we've bunched up all the orange cars together here for some reason. I'm not too sure why. It's getting very confusing, but that is Nathan Sweeney ahead of Jamal Gandor. Jamal running the Simsa livery, Nathan running the Mosa livery, two sim racing companies. Another sim racing company that I am almost contractually obliged to mention is, of course, the Sim Consultants, and their logo you can see in the top right-hand corner of your screen. Rory O'Shea on the tail of Conor Melia in front here. This is the battle for 5th, as we have less than 5 minutes to go. And Rory, ooh, a little bit of a nudge, a little bit of a love tap on the back of Conor Melia's car, Conor Melia's Honda. Just reminding Conor of his presence in this fight. And the High Prix wants to get past. In terms of the front, Ronan Doherty leading is now we can get a good look at the livery. It seems like through this section of track we get a nice look at it. As you can see there on the side, it is the scene from Pulp Fiction. I know we mentioned this earlier, but we didn't really get time to have a proper look at it. It is the scene from Pulp Fiction, and it is Ronan himself and Sean McClemens on the side of the car. As you can see that there. I'm not sure what's on the front of the car, but we might address that at a later date. And by that I mean Heat 3. Or are we going to address it now? We might address it now, as I can't quite see what that is, to be honest. That looks like Ronan Hederman. That very much looks like Ronan. It's not the best photo of Ronan Hederman I've ever seen, but it is never. It just. Where's Kevin to take over when we need him? I don't know if you've been hearing Ronan laughing. Probably not for Ronan's sake, but we might have to get an official comment on that in between the heats.
Banned, that's all I'm saying.
Ronan has said they're banned, okay. Ronan has no power to do that. As a matter of fact, Ronan Doherty probably higher up in the admin team than Ronan Hederman. But yeah, interesting. Thank the Lord Evan Walsh didn't do that to me on the back of his car. That's all I say. Alright, where's the racing gone? Let's have a look at the replay then, the Gantry TV instant replay, and see what this is. As there was a whole load of composure lost in the last minute. Oh no, please tell me this isn't what I think it is. As no, it's okay. It's not Jamal that Emma's made contact with. It's Dara Halley. Well, I mean, Emma didn't make contact with Dara Halley, I don't think. As oh good lord, it's still not Jamal, so we're still in the. Oh, that's a big impact. That's a huge impact for Emma Dempsey off the Armco. But all has gone wrong. There's bound to be a full caps message in the incident report for that one, as there has actually been an incident report sent in already. I'm going to check and see, is that Emma Dempsey? It is, but she's actually reported it's in the RTA Truck Cup Championship incident report, so might have to take a look at that one. At least it wasn't Jamal, so we don't have to get a restraining order just yet. It was just a very similar coloured car to Jamal, so Emma might still be pretty livid. Here is Peter McCann and Robbie Callahan side by side as well. That gets very close in the run down towards Maggots and Beckett's. Robbie Callahan on the inside. Peter McCann is going to have to swing it around the outside. Evan Walsh looking to get involved in this one as well. And it looks like Robbie Callahan has actually got that one done, to be fair. Good move for Robbie. We're almost in the final stages of this race. We're going to have one more lap after this one. It's been quite an interesting heat number 2 here. Peter McCann dives down the inside of Robbie Callahan once again. They're still side by side. Callahan has to run the long way round, but he'll be rewarded with the inside line through Luffield. McCann breaks a lot later in his TrackDays.ie sponsored machine. And of course, Evan Walsh in the Mondello Park car just tucked up right behind Dara Halley. Not Dara Halley, Robbie Callahan. Don't know why I'm confusing those two so much this evening. But Callahan just ahead for the time being. Still side by side in towards Cops Corner. Is Evan Walsh going to make it free abreast? No, he isn't. And Robbie Callahan is going to stay in front. Barely. Barely stays in front. Down towards Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. It's the closest fight for now, as here comes Evan Walsh. Oh, that was brave on the brakes. But doesn't commit to it. Had to brake a lot later to catch out Peter McCann. And and Peter will stay in front for the time being. But up the front, Ronan Doherty is going to get the job done here. Stay in front of Dan Moll. 1.5 seconds the lead as Dylan McClemens and Brandon McCaughan fighting for the final podium position. Is McCaughan going to be able to get past and get his second podium of the night? Doesn't seem like he is, but Ronan Doherty, race winner in heat number 2. What a fabulous job by Ronan. Just took the advantage while he had it, and he takes his 4th win of the season. Dan Moll then in 2nd, Dylan McClemens in 3rd, then it's Brandon McCaughan in 4th, ahead of Conor Mealy, Rory O'Shea, Robbie Callaghan, Peter McCann, Evan Walsh, Wayne Douglas, Oscar Mangan, Simon Hutchings. Tony Stack comes home in 13th, Dara Halley 14th, Dave Collier in 15th position, as we're looking at some of the stragglers coming home. As Phillipson in 18th, Sean McClemens, to be fair, recovered to 19th due to all the issues we had in that one. I'm not quite sure if he gets points for that, but puts him a little higher up for heat 3 anyways, which of course is the 20-minute heat. But let's have a look then at your final race results before we get a few interviews. Ronan Doherty takes the race win. Dan Mould in 2nd, Dylan McClemens in 3rd, Brandon McCaughan in 4th, ahead of Conor Mealy. Then it is Rory O'Shea, Robbie Callaghan, Peter McCann, Evan Walsh, Wayne Douglas, Oscar Mangan, Simon Hutchings, Tony Stack, Dara Halley, Dave Collier, Nathan Sweeney, Dermot Toomey, Phil Upson, Sean McClemens and Jamal Gandor. Then it is Emma Dempsey, Finlay Melvin, Dave Prunty, and of course no Jordan Kelly. Let's hear then from your race winner, Ronan Doherty. Ronan, congratulations, 4th win of the season, 1st win of tonight. You got a little bit of a helping hand from an incident further back, but you took it in your grasp and extended the gap up the front.
Yeah, I got a good start. First 2 laps went well. I passed Oscar, and then I got past Wayne. Maybe it was in the same corner, I can't remember. But yeah, they were still behind me, and then I looked and I seen obviously there'd been an accident. I still don't know what happened, but yeah, that gave me a nice gap, and then I just sort of could manage it from there, try not to make any mistakes like last week when I gave away an easy win. So yeah, brought it home.
Big race for you then in heat 3, because if you get a significant advantage over the your championship rivals, you will almost have wrapped up the championship. But of course, it's a reverse grid, so you have to start 8th. What's the approach here?
I think just try not to get involved in anything too silly, and sometimes you can't avoid that or whatever. But yeah, no, I'm not sure the way Trop Round's playing it. I think me and Oscar will be very close, to be honest. But yeah, it's just like every race 3. It's a bit of a lottery at times.
Ronan, do you want to enlighten the viewers to what a quarter pounder with cheese is called in France? Ronan.
A
Ronan, you can't
Royale?
have
Was
Pulp
it a
Fiction inside your
Royale?
car and nothing as well.
Was it a Royale? Am I right or something?
Yeah,
With cheese.
a
Yeah,
Royale with cheese.
You're really picking my brain here.
That's poor. Do you want to enlighten the viewers about delivery?
Yeah, the liberty's just sometimes you have to take artistic liberty, in these scenarios, and yeah, I think it came out looking really well, especially the bonnet looks very, very well. So yeah, I hope everyone at home is enjoying the livery, and I'm certainly enjoying driving it.
Well, Ronan, you're going to try to take the path of a righteous man in Heat 3 and earn that victory. And all going well, we'll speak to you after.
Cheers, lads.
He hasn't a Scooby about any of those Pulp Fiction quotes. Anyways, let's hear from Dylan McClemens, 3rd place man. Dylan, congratulations. Podium for the first time since Heat 1 in Alton Park. Happy to be back on the rostrum?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to keep up with the pace in this car. It's a bit off the pace, but I made the most what I could do that second race, and I'm happy with the pace, and hope I can keep up next race.
Heat 3, of course, you have a slightly nicer starting position than your teammate. What's going to be the plan of action?
Just try to stay at Carnage like I did in race 2, and hopefully it'll give me another podium, because with this car's pace, I don't think it matches the Civics and Velocity.
Yeah, rather than sort of the success you had with the car last week seems to be a little bit more difficult tonight. How are you finding it with the conditions?
Well, it's a lot more closer this week, I would say. But around this track, if you can pull a 10th a lap, like it's a bit hard. But the two makes a big difference. And I think really all I gotta hope for is rain, because that's when these cars are a bit in the pace. But nah, the track seems good, and it should be good racing.
Dylan, thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully we get to speak to you again later.
All right, cheers. See ya.
So good to hear from Vincent Vega and Dylan McClements in the interview there. There's a couple of Pulp Fiction quotes I know about answering questions, and if Ronan was smart, he'd go research some of them now just in case he wins. But I will leave that to him. If you have any Pulp Fiction quotes that I can bark at him if he gets on the podium in Heat 3, please do put them in the comments, because he's clueless about them all, and it's very funny. Ronan Hederman, heading into Heat 3 then. Again, we don't really know what to expect. Peter McCann, pole position.
Yeah, interesting. We'll see. Peter, I think every time Peter has been put in a position like that, he's ended up not exactly struggling, but just most likely having bad luck. So we got what, Peter McCann, Robbie Callahan, Rory O'Shea. Like, Rory O'Shea has got such good constant pace, he might stay up there as well. Dylan's starting sixth is excellent for him, and Brandon McCaughan, the way he's been driving, I can see Brandon fighting his way back up there, but I wouldn't put Dan Mould or Ronan out of it starting even that far back. But again, it's a kind of a let's see what happens situation, isn't it?
Well, let's see what happens then. Remember, folks, during this heat, get your nominations for Battery TV Driver of the Day in. I really don't want to have to pick. So, control to challenge. Let's see. Number 3 at Silverstone, bound to be an interesting one. McCann on the pole, Robbie Callahan alongside. Real opportunity for Callahan here, because he's shown alright pace tonight. Dan Mould as well. Connor Mealy get in the mix off fourth, but we will find out. As the red lights are coming on, it's going to be Peter McCann off pole position as we go racing here in Silverstone. Oh, bad start for Peter McCann, bad start for Conor Mealia. Or sorry, great start for Conor Mealia, I should say. Fourth, maybe looking to first. Apologies if there is a little bit of lag down the audio waves, folks, as we head down in towards Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel for the first time. Robbie Callahan leads. McCann has had a horrendous start off the front row in 6th position. Ronan Doherty in 7th, Dan Mould in 8th, Wayne Douglas in 9th, and Evan Walsh is all the way down to 10th. Not a good start at all for those guys, but Conor Mealia capitalising on the poor starts from the front row. And he leads in, or he is in 2nd, in towards the left-hander, under pressure from Brandon McCaughan, and McCaughan dives down the inside. McCaughan has got that one done. Great move for Brandon. Conor Mealia in 3rd position, Rory O'Shea in 4th, Dennis Clements in 5th, Peter McCann in 6th, Ronan Doherty in 7th, Dan Mould in 8th, Wayne Douglas in 9th, Evan Walsh in 10th, Oscar Mangan in 11th as they head down towards Cobb's Corner for the 2nd time. Callahan with, not going to say a comfortable race lead, but a race lead that doesn't have him under pressure as of now. Your biggest gainer on the opening lap was Sean McClemens, who's up 5 positions to 14, so still could get something out of this evening. It must have been pretty torrid for him. Going to try down the inside is Oscar Mangan. This is on Evan Walsh, and he's got that one done. Now has to set his sights on Wayne Douglas. Here's Dan Mould and Ronan Doherty, 2 of the big championship contenders. Ronan Doherty down the inside here. Dan Mould on the outside in towards the left-hander. And Wayne Douglas, just behind as Dan Mould tried the long way. Could have been contact pretty easily between those two, but it wasn't. And Ronan Doherty is, he's gone a little bit wide. He's been shoved into the gravel as Ronan Doherty. Contact made between the two, all elbows out from Dan Mould. Knows he needs to outscore the boy from Dunloy, and, well, going one way about it. And that is the aggressive approach, which I suppose TCR Racing always leads to. Dan Mould is ahead of Ronan Doherty. Callahan still in the lead of this race. Ronan, I might ask you to take over for a couple of seconds while I try and fix out my internet connection.
Yeah, absolutely cracking start here, especially this reverse grid has really tossed things up here as we see Rory on the back of Connor Melia. Nothing on here, I don't think. I think I was pretty accurate in my in my pre-show estimation of where this was going to go. Brandon McCollum up to second place already. Connor Melia getting a good exit out of that corner, should be okay. Peter McCann behind. Dan Mould stalking on Peter McCann currently. Peter McCann in a decent place. Could be better though. That start absolutely put him back. And a long train here from first place all the way back to about 7th. So right now, Dan Mould looking for the outside line here on Peter McCann. Is he going to get it done? He might get him on the switchback here. He's very close, and a little nudge. Dan Mould still in behind Peter McCann here. Hoping to get him on the outside here again. Dan seems to prefer the outside into here. Peter holding his line nicely. Is he going to hold the inside the whole way around? Dan Mould's going to slip back in because Ronan Doherty is now right behind him. And have we got you back,
Evan? Should be all back now, hopefully. Yep. Ronan should be okay, as seems to be a little bit stable, as this has been a great fight between Dan Mould and Peter McCann in the patchy moments that I've seen of it, as Dan Mould is in front, swapping to the inside now, heading in towards Cobb's corner, as Ronan Doherty, or sorry, Peter McCann I should say, is on the outside as they both run wide. Ronan Doherty going to now maybe get a little bit of a slingshot on the pair of them, down towards the next corner. It's McCann on the inside, Mould on the outside. Doherty got to be very careful not to make contact in front, and he is nice and early on the brakes, as Peter McCann and Dan Mould both run a little bit wide once again, but Mould gets the slingshot. Here comes Ronan Doherty down towards the left-hander, tucked into the slipstream. We ride on board with him now. He's got the inside line on the pair of them here if he wants it. How brave is he going to be on the brakes, because he has Oscar Mangan right behind. This is a crucial battle for the championship. Ronan Doherty, he's almost got past Peter McCann. McCann runs all the way through the corner, and Peter McCann is putting himself amongst the best here and doing a stellar job off it. He might not have got the first lap of his dreams, but he's giving it a valiant effort here. Ronan Doherty on the outside, heading through Woodcut down towards Copp's Corners. We're 5 minutes into this one. Peter McCann is still on that inside line. Mangan on the inside behind. Here with Wayne Douglas, and side by side through here. How close can you get between Ronan Doherty and Peter McCann? Very lucky not to make contact is Ronan. He's just about got in front, braves it out. That is the stuff of champions. McCann has been overtaken by Oscar Mangan. Yes, now he has. I thought he was going to get the run through the corner, but hasn't. Was just too committed to that inside line, and Mangan was able to sweep round the outside. Evan Walsh is behind Peter McCann now. I might be able to look for the move. McCann falling down the grid. McCann defends to the inside line. Walsh is going to have the outside. The only big championship name now stuck behind this battle is Wayne Douglas, as McCann runs very wide. Douglas no longer stuck behind Peter McCann. And Evan Walsh has got through as well. Sean McClemens now right on the tail of Peter McCann. He's up 7 positions so far here in heat number 3. And whatever problems plagued him in heat 1 and heat 2, he seems to have ironed out. It's given it a right old go here in the 3rd heat of the evening and the feature race heat. Jamal Gandor's got past Dave Collier, just off camera shot, as McCann still stays ahead of Sean McClemens. Robbie Callahan still in the race lead at the front of this one. Heat 3s have seen not necessarily a surprise race winner in the last 2 weeks in the forms of Brandon McCollum, but certainly an unconventional one in the way the season has gone. Robbie Callahan is in the lead of this, but it's a long way home. It is a long, long way home for Robbie Callahan, and he's got to put up a very impressive performance, just like we saw from Brandon McCollum last week. Conor Melia still in the final podium position, just ahead of Dylan McClemens, then Rory O'Shea in almost a lonely 5th, it seems. Here is Ronan Doherty and Oscar Mangan, 1st and 2nd in the championship, 7th and 8th on the road, and Mangan is looking to swap the order here. just still behind, but staying on the outside. Has the fastest lap of the race, does Oscar Mangan, and he went a tenth and a half of a second quicker than Ronan Doherty the last time round. As Mangan, no, not going to try it into here, it seems. Just still a little bit too further back, and these two know how crucial this battle is. This is not your usual just chuck it down the inside or the outside RTA battle. This is a little bit more important. As Ronan Doherty just ahead for the time being. Sorry folks, my screen completely froze there for a second. Robbie Callahan is in front of Brandon McCaughan, and just a little bit further back, Ronan Doherty ahead of Oscar Mangan. So look at this, look how close they're getting, heading through the final corner, Oscar Mangan and Ronan Doherty, as Ronan Doherty has been overtaken by Mangan now, so Mangan has got the run on the championship leader before tonight, should still lead it after tonight given the points he's accrued, but I tell you what, Oscar's made that look pretty easy on Ronan Doherty, and there wasn't really much of a fight put up there. Ronan has fallen back down to 8 here. He's in the position he started, as that's very close between the front two, Robbie Callahan and Brandon McCaughan. McCaughan almost making contact with the Kildare man in front of him, and that's the last thing these two would want, given that they're in an exceptional position. And not out of the championship fight either is Robbie Callahan and Brandon McCaughan. Not out of it at all. It would be a big stretch to win it from here, but if they were to finish 1-2, that would be something else. That would be something else if they were to finish 1-2. It would leave us with a bit of a Grand Slam finish come next week, but we will cross that bridge when we come to it. Brandon McCaughan in the slipstream of Robbie Callahan in front, down towards the first corner. We're almost halfway through this one. That's Brandon looking to try and make the move. Oh, look, how close can you get? How close can you get through there? That is unbelievable without making contact. As we just look a little bit further back, Dan Mould going to try the move on Rory O'Shea, side by side of the apex, and Mould is just in front for the time being, it seems. Is Rory going to fight this one back? You betcha. He might not be up to much in the championship, but Rory O'Shea will always hunt down the positions on track. Into the slipstream, is there going to be a move on the inside? No, there isn't, so my comment of saying he's going to fight it back was short-lived, to say the least, and Rory O'Shea just files behind Dan Mould. So, still Callahan in the lead of this one. Brandon McCaughan in second. A little bit of dust kicked up from one of the front two. Conor Mealy will get a better run than them both, and I tell you what, they're all just closing the gaps down between one another. And this could become a 5 or 6, 7 car battle, a race win fairly soon, and that would be unbelievable if it did that, wouldn't it? That would be some way to end the night. Oh, that's a vicious moment for Evan Walsh, who had to catch the car there. Runs a little bit wide of Cops. I'm not sure if there was contact made between the two or if it was just catching a slide, but certainly Evan Walsh running wide through Cops and had to make the save there, as Peter McCann will gain a couple of tenths of a second on them both, but still Callahan in the race lead. McCaughan not really able to launch a challenge up the front. There's a little bit further back. Dylan McClemens has invited himself to the party, the top 4 back. And he is looking to get involved here, as Dan Mould needs to close that gap down a little bit more, and it's going to be a familiar foe. Oh, that's someone gone off. That's Evan Walsh gone off for the second time in the lap. I'm not too sure what happened there, but Evan Walsh has gone off, and unfortunately will fall down to 14. Let's have a look at the replay then and see what happened. There's Evan Walsh. He's on his own here, so it's not going to be contact. Oh, runs very wide. I'm not sure if that was serving a slowdown or whatnot. Bumps into McCann. McCann goes into a half spin. That leads to Walsh into a half spin. That is that's a very, very weird one. Ronan Hederman, not sure if you can explain the antics of your two friends there, but that was quite a weird one.
No, not entirely sure what happened there at all. It looked like Evan either had a wobble and went wide, or deliberately went wide and tried to cut back and thought that there was still a gap in between there, and ended up collecting Peter as a result. So, weird is the only way I can put that. It's not your usual line unless you've made some kind of mistake or maybe a hardware issue or something like that. But yeah, very strange.
Yeah, it seemed like he was going for a slingshot, but a slingshot on no one, which is weird as battle for the race lead. Once again, Robbie Callaghan has to run wide through the corner, and Brandon McCaughan is right behind. And Dylan McClemens now in this one as he gets past Conor Amelia. That is in the battle for third, so Dylan McClemens now in third position as contact made, and Amelia has gone wide. I'm not sure, was that Dan Mould again into that corner? We will definitely have to have another look at that one, as very close between the two. Sorry, Ronan, my screen is frozen again, so you might have to take over for a second, but let's have a look at this replay anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. This looks like Dan maybe outbraked himself again here. Connor was on the outside. Dan looked like he was a bit late into there. I don't know. That looks very sus to me. That's twice tonight that Dan has been involved in an incident in that same corner.
Yeah, twice tonight that Dan has been involved, and the stewards will definitely be taking a look at that one. Most certainly will take. As yeah, Dan, that could hamper his championship chances if he was to pick up one penalty, let alone two. If he was to pick up two, that would be disastrous. And he's been involved in a few little niggles here, so stewards, I imagine, will be taking a look at that, as Robbie Callaghan still in the race lead, and with every minute that ticks on, just like it did for Brandon McCaughan in Knockhill, the chance of a race win becomes a lot more prevalent. We discussed at the top of the show that Callaghan still missing that race win from what's been a fabulous British Touring Car Championship portfolio. He would like to take that win here this evening. Brandon McCaughan in second, and Dylan McClemens in third, and it is Mould, Mangan, Doherty, and Conor Amelia unfortunately dropping to ninth and out of the podium battle, which is very, very disappointing for him. Peter McCann in the pit lane here, so McCann might have picked up some damage, as not serving a drive-through anyways, only has two off tracks. He is into the pits. I wonder if we can be seeing any visual damage for Peter McCann. Doesn't look like it for the time being. As yeah, serving a drive-through for something, so he's not stopping in the box. Oh, he is stopping in the box. Yeah, must have been damaged there. As battle for the race lead once again between Robbie Callaghan and Brandon McCaughan. Almost looked like contact, but it's looked like contact a few times between these two, and they have never touched. It's been squeaky clean as Oscar Mangan is able to get past Dan Mould. So Mangan sneaks down the inside of the SRL driver, and Dan Mould falls to fifth here in this one. For Dan's sake, it would be disastrous if this was like heat number one, where he drops down the order very late on. Ronan Doherty's going to look for the move on Dan Mould as well here in towards Copse Corner. Dan's not having a good time of things. Late race here in heat number 3 in Silverstone, and Ronan Doherty is looking for a crucial move on Dan. 10.5 between the front two. Brandon McCaughan is having his own tricks used against him here, and by that I mean a fantastic defensive effort. Ronan Doherty right into the slipstream of Dan Mould. McCaughan into the slipstream of Callaghan. McClemens is trying to defend from Oscar Mangan as well. It's all happening here in Silverstone as Brandon McCaughan barrels it down the inside on Robbie Callaghan. This is the best opportunity he's had. Callaghan runs wide. McCaughan's into the race lead. It could be a miraculous hat-trick of Heat 3 wins in a row for Brandon McCaughan. And the way it's looking, it's going to go that way. Callaghan is now in a whole world of pain. He's under pressure from Dylan McClemens. He's under pressure from Oscar Mangan, heading through Woodcut. This is disastrous for Robbie Callaghan's race. He's flashing the lights in front. That's not going to help your straight line speed, Callaghan. McClemens is looking for the outside. That invites Mangan to the inside. And Oscar Mangan's got it done through Copse Corner. Robbie Callaghan still now has to defend from Oscar Mangan. He'd still love a podium finish, that's without question. But what can Oscar Mangan do? In towards Maggots and Beckett's. Doherty gets past Mould, but Mould still on the inside, and there's contact between the two. And Ronan Doherty is bumped across the curb. He's bumped across the gravel. He's cutting some grass. Dan just went on the grass all on his own there, it seems, as this is getting hectic. What an ending to the race we're having here. We still have 3 minutes to go. 3 more laps potentially of this one. 3 laps that could be very crucial for the championship fight. Oscar Mangan dives down the inside of Robbie Callaghan. He knows he has a chance of picking up another win here tonight. Heat number 1 did Oscar Mangan. Heat number 2 went to begging. Heat number 3 could still be within him, but he needs to lap a lot quicker than he did. Brandon McCaughan on the last lap. Let's see his lap time, 1:09. Yeah, it's equal between the two. So McCaughan is in a brilliant position to win 3 Heat 3s in a row. But let's not say anything just yet, because when we know what happens when a commentator on Gantry TV says something, the opposite usually happens very quickly. For McCaughon's sake, let's hope that's not true. Tim McClemens still in 4th, defending from Dan Mould, and Dan is going to be getting deja vu from Snetterton here, when he was not able to get past Dylan McClemens' late race, and then told us how he was schooled by the 14-year-old. 14 or 15-year-old, I can't remember if he had his birthday or not at the time. But nevertheless, Dylan McClemens still in front. Ronan Doherty 6th in this one. Wayne Douglas is down and out of the lead fight. So we have 2 minutes to go. 2 more laps potentially. Potentially, no, it will be 2, won't be 3. And Oscar Mangan is hot on the heels of Brandon McCaughan. We said he needed a great lap. He's had a great lap. And we are going to have a fight for the win here, it seems. Once again, it's Brandon McCaughan leading. And he's going to have to put up a defensive performance against one of the championship challenging cars. It was Dan Mould last week. This time, it's Oscar Mangan. Oscar's got the run down towards Maggots, goes for the outside. McCaughan defends the inside in his traditional fashion. And he's going to try and get the exit, but Mangan has just taken that nicely. Here we go. Oscar Mangan's going for a crucial race lead. He wants the inside. He wants the inside. He's not going to budge if he doesn't get the inside. McCaughan is not giving up any free gifts here in towards Brooklands. Oscar Mangan still wants the inside. Commits to the inside. Is there going to be contact between the two? There isn't. It's squeaky clean. And Brandon McCaughan still defends here. He's going to push Mangan wide and try to get the exit. One more lap to go in Silverstone. We're side by side for the race lead, and Robbie Callahan still has a foot in the fight here. Mangan will be on the outside through Copse Corner. Brandon McCaughan will be on the inside, and Brandon McCaughan needs to commit here if he wants to win a 3rd race in a row. He has committed. Oh, he's taking a bit of grass as well. That's going to give Oscar Mangan the run through this corner, down towards Maggots and Beckett's. Oscar Mangan has the race lead for the first time in heat number 3. What can Brandon McCaughan do? Oh, there's contact made. He's squiggly in the brakes. Oscar Mangan almost loses it. He lost it on the last lap with Snetterton, remember, when he made contact with Ronan Doherty and lost crucial points. He doesn't lose it this time round. Mangan weaves his way down towards Brooklands and Luffield. McCaughan just needs every ounce of straight line speed possible. The Honda's the slowest in the straight line. They both dive for the inside. They're both going for the apex. Mangan lunges it on thin air. McCaughan lunges it on Mangan. Look at this. There's cars everywhere. There's cars absolutely everywhere. Mangan gets out of the final corner. Okay, McCaughan needs an Alex Rins move here if he wants to win it. He doesn't. Doherty's all over the grass. They're all going everywhere. Oscar Mangan wins heat number 3. My goodness me, it's pandemonium here in Buckinghamshire. I can't believe my eyes. Robbie Callahan in 3rd, Dylan McClemens in 4th, Dan Mould in 5th, Doherty ends up 8th, Douglas gets that spot on him, Conor Melia in 9th, and Dara Halley in 10th position. Oh, holy Moses, as Marty Morrissey would say. That was crazy. And Oscar Mangan just takes the race. I couldn't believe it when the two of them died for the inside. I thought we were going to have carbon fibre all over the circuit, but we didn't. They somehow avoided contact. My word, it's some night for a solo commentary, I tell you that, folks. That was insane. Let's have a look at the replay here. This is going to be between Doherty and Mould, I imagine, as Ronan dives it to the inside. Does Dan give him the squeeze? What happens? Dan runs on the gravel, half spins and bumps Doherty. Oh, dearie me, it's not necessarily, well, it is Dan's fault, but it's not necessarily an incident level of fault. Oh, my word. Can you get more dramatic than this? This is crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Let's run you through the full race results then, folks. As Oscar Mangan takes the race win. Brandon McCaughan in 2nd, Robbie Callahan in 3rd, Dylan McClemens in 4th, Dan Mould in 5th, Rory O'Shea in 6th, Wayne Douglas in 7th, Ronan Doherty in 8th, Conor Melia in 9th, Dara Halley in 10th, Sean McClemens in 11th. Good recovery for Sean in that one, but we didn't really get to look at him much in the last 10 minutes. Tony Stack in 12th, Evan Walsh 13th, Simon Hutchings 14th, and it was Jamal Gandor, Dermot Toomey, Finlay Melvin, Dave Collier, Emma Dempsey, and David Prunty. Then it was Nathan Sweeney, Phil Upson, Peter McCann to round out the order. Let's hear from the top 3 then and your podium finishes in that one. Oscar Mangan, congratulations. 2 wins this evening and a very dramatic one come the end of that. With 2 or 3 laps to go, it was looking like the win was a little bit out of reach, but you fought back and made a great move to take that.
Yeah, that was really, really fun. I really enjoyed that. I think all the lads were tithering and giggling at the end of that one, and it was good crack. And after the disappointment of the second race, just getting punted off, it was good to get back. I really wasn't expecting to kind of for the Civic to come alive there, but yeah, it all just sort of fell together.
In terms of the championship then, of course, you taking the win there in Heat 3 and Ronan finishing 8th. Obviously drop rounds yet to be calculated and stuff like that, but you've got a great chance of this one now.
Yeah, I think just kind of, that's the first time I think that all season I've tried to play kind of aggressive and just not settle. So I think I guess it paid off for this one. In previous ones I was sort of happy to just take points and not really push my way up the front. But yeah, I guess we'll see how it all stacks up into brands, and that's a great track. And I think based on the first time we were there at the start of the season, the cars are very, very close, so it'll be definitely a good one.
Yeah, of course, it's the longer circuit this time round, and that gives yourself and the other championship competitors sort of more room to maybe pull a gap in qualifying and stuff like that, so there'll be a real opportunity there. We're just looking on screen at the last lap between yourself and Brandon McCaughton. I know you said you were all giggling and stuff like that, but let's say going into Brooklands on the last lap, you and Brandon both dive for the inside. What's going through your mind? Because I can only imagine.
Yeah, I sort of saw him in the mirror, and he sort of went outside and then went inside, and I guess I was weaving down the straight to try and just not give him as much draft as possible, and I had a feeling he would just send it at the very last second, so I just kept it tight and just sort of went on a shallow entry, and lo and behold, he sort of did the same. So we didn't actually, I think we just about touched, but it was all that's what touring cars is all about. It's just a bit of argy-bargy, but it's all clean up the front with us.
Yeah, and of course, total opposite to touring cars. You're out yourself back in the adapted rally car, let's say. Do you want to tell the folks at home what you have coming up next weekend?
Yeah, so rallying at Galvin rally this weekend in the Dacia Sandero Cup. I put up a video today of after doing the exhaust modification. A lot of people don't realize that I dubbed an R8 V10 over it. So I've had a lot of like positive feedback and people not copping on.
The social media is very good, to be fair. You've fooled a lot of people.
It's a very memeable car, to be honest. So yeah, I think if it sounded like that in scrutiny in Cavan, there'd be a lot of protests coming in. But yeah, it's good. It's been a long break since Kerry, and just hoping now to just as the LSs get the finger out now and just drive it. So we'll see how Cavan goes.
Just don't end up on the beach on Saturday morning. That's all I say.
Exactly.
Oscar, congratulations tonight. Best of luck in Cavan and best of luck next week.
Thanks very much, lads. Talk to you.
So let's hear from second place then, Brandon McCaughton. Brandon, congratulations. Second place tonight, but so close to 3 Heat 3 wins in 3 weeks, which for an Irish accent's not a nice one to say, but so close, and a brilliant fight between yourself and Oscar. Talk us through those last few laps.
Oh, hectic race. To be fair, Robbie drove really well, like he deserved to win that one, but he didn't put a foot wrong for like 16 laps, and then finally I got a run and got up the inside, and then with Oscar it was great battle, like we were rubbing doors going down the straight and all, but yeah, here look, he got me in that last lap out of turn 1. He done the cut back perfect. If he had been just a bit later to throttle, I would have got the door shut, but he didn't, so yeah, is what it is. Had good fun in here, second place. I'm happy enough with that.
A couple of big dives down the inside into Brooklands from you tonight. That seemed to be your move of choice. Brave, would you say? But it worked pretty much every time.
Yeah, well, that comes from the Formula Fords. I've won a couple of times around here in the Formula Ford, and just have to be brave. Down the inside into the Brooklands really is the main upper overtaking opportunity on the track. So seems to work on these cars too. None of them seem to be too rough. Me and Robbie had a bit of a door touch, but it wasn't anything too serious, I don't think. So no, was good fun anyway. The big dives.
Yourself and Robbie have fought, I think, most weeks this season. Have you enjoyed sort of battling with him practically every night?
Yeah, I actually have. Yeah, it's always been good racing. Like it's always fair enough. I know I can be robust enough at times, but I try to keep it relatively fair. Fair as I can. And yeah, he's always fair to me. Credit where credit's due. So it's good. It always kind of seems to be me, him, and Dylan, and the Elantras always end up having a battle most weeks. So keeps it interesting.
Brandon, congratulations. Thank you very much, and best of luck next week in Brands Hatch.
Good man. Cheers.
So good to hear from Brandon McCaughan there, and let's bring in third place, Robbie Callahan. Robbie, congratulations once again. Pace was excellent tonight, but just narrowly missing out on that first win of the season.
Yeah, so you probably saw my great start in the second race. My clutch button, I was hitting it so fast it wasn't registering. So I hit the clutch button, it had stayed 100%, and the car just wouldn't move. So I went from like 4th to 17th, and then there was a bit of chaos, and I got back up to 8th. Had a good fight with Peter to get 7th, and then I got away well in the last race, and it was like the longest race of my life. And then Brandon just got me. I wasn't expecting him to go up the inside, and he got past me. And yeah, just held on to 3rd, thankfully.
Of course, in this championship as a whole, you had your first week as championship leader in RTA. You've had a lot of good pace and a lot of good success. What have you liked about these cars?
I like them in the dry. In the wet, it's the worst car I've ever driven. But I kind of like front-wheel drive cars because it's hard to spin them. If you start sliding, you just put your foot on the throttle and it fixes itself. So, yeah, that's kind of my favorite thing about them. And then other than that, they're pretty good to drive.
Next week in Brands Hatch, season finale, any expectations from yourself, or are you going to just take it how it comes?
The Civics are going to be fast, because they were fast the first time we went to Brands. Maybe try and go for a win in the last race, see what the reverse grid can do. Yeah, just try and get a win.
Best of luck with that. Congratulations on all the success this season, and all going well. We will speak to you next week after heat number 3.
Thank you very much.
So good to hear from the 3 lads there, and a real mixed bag of interviews once again. Oscar just seemed giddy after, to be honest. Seemed to really enjoy that fight. Now it's the difficult time where we discuss driver of the day. Right, let's have a quick look at the YouTube comments now that my Wi-Fi can survive opening something other than Discord. So we have a couple of nominations from Kevin. He says Brandon, Robbie, Oscar 2. Adam Dowling says not Peter McCann. Fair enough, Adam. Respectable comment there. Johnny says Brandon was excellent tonight. As that seems to be it for driver of the day nominees. Ronan Hederman, have you any nominations?
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't put it on me this week.
No, I'm not making a pick. I'm just asking for a nomination. As if you're a Gantry TV.
I would have said Brandon. Again, I know he's had it one of the weeks so far. I would have said Brandon, but the last 3 laps from Oscar Mangan were phenomenal and clean. Like I would argue Brandon was a little bit bargy on Robbie Callahan in that second last lap, or that third last lap possibly. But again, BTCC, it depends on how far he pushed him off track and whatever. I guarantee you Robbie's probably put a protest in on that. But I think that last 3 to 4 laps from Oscar Mangan shows why he is multiple time champion here in RTA. A serious clean drive. Is he not?
No, he's
Oscar
in 1-1.
He's in 1-1. Okay, fair enough. when he's there, he's always at the pointy end. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he is. All right, so that's 2 all in nominations. Cheers, folks. Appreciate that. But to be honest, I think I'm going to agree with you, Ronan. I know we don't usually give it to the front runners, but the front runners were the real stars of the show tonight. Oscar Mangan, I think driver today is probably well earned. Took 2 heat wins, and then those last 2 laps were brilliant. Like it was probably shambolic commentary because I just didn't really know what to say. It was just all mental from the 2 of them, and Oscar like showed why he's one of the best, didn't he? Closed 5/10 in a lap and then got the move done so quickly. So I think we will break the status quo and go for Oscar Mangan as RTA Gantry TV Driver of the Day, as half voted by the viewers, half selected by the commentators, mostly selected by the commentators, but that will be that. Well, folks, we have a season finale and a half coming up. Spa last season was crazy. Dare I say Brands Hatch could be even better this season in the Motorsport.ie RTA British Touring Car Championship. Big thanks, all of you, for watching at home. Saw some great numbers again tonight. And thank you for bearing with my own technical issues, but we got a great race in the end and was well worth the wait. So, check out rtavirtualmotorsport.com for all the points and standings. They will be updated extremely quickly. Check out Motorsport.ie for all your Irish motorsport news. We've had a lot of Irish motorsport on lately, whether it be the Bishop's Court motor races. Modelo has something on every weekend. There's a lot of great drivers doing well abroad. So, check out Motorsport.ie. And, of course, a big thanks to Leo and team for all their support once again. And a big thanks for tuning into Gantry TV, as I already said. No, I knew I forgot something. Big thanks to Ronan Hederman, as always, for providing the pictures. Folks, we will return same time next week for the season finale of this fabulous championship. Doherty versus Mangan versus so much more. Stay tuned to the Facebook page. There'll be updates posted there, as well as the website, as we already said. So, folks, that'll be that for tonight. Stay safe, stay well, and we shall see you next time. Slán go bhfuil.